Hello. So I've been reading a lot of sequels lately. I've been dedicating a lot of vlogs to sequels this month. I'm just now realizing because I have another sequel for you. I have finished part 1 of The Dark Forest, which is the sequel to The Three-Body Problem. And I don't have a ton to say about it yet. It's been a very slow setup for book 2. So book 1, The Three-Body Problem, was the inciting incident. It was the build-up. It was the, okay, let's lay some groundwork, and then it will escalate into this big conflict that has now been thrust upon us all, and we watch people react. And now book 2, I guess, is the storm. This is, okay, now here's the consequences. Here's what's happening. So book 1, as I said, book 2, part 1, as I said, so far has been a pretty slow build. It's been a lot more establishing, introducing new characters, as well as seeing how different characters are responding to how things have changed. Some people are being very active, some people are strategizing, and some people are escaping. They're going full on into escapism. It's on the back description, so I'm just gonna say it, even though it feels like a spoiler, but it's on the back description of book 1. Aliens are involved. Aliens, we get first contact, and this is all of the following things that happen after we get that first contact. That's the most vague way I can say that. There's certain disconnects. Like they don't understand the difference between a thought and spoken word, because they should be the same. These two things should coexist. Think should mean the same thing as say. Their understanding shows them as synonyms. The words lying and cheating are two other words that they have a hard time understanding. So there are certain human behaviors and human normalities that make no sense to them. And so they're creating a structure and they're getting involved, and it's all getting really weedy, but it's also a lot of ground laying and a lot of establishing of certain laws and certain expectations that we're all setting up for what I assume to be, you know, it's all going to pay off, hopefully. So it's been a slow start. I don't have a lot of strong feelings about it, other than just trying to keep all this information in my mind, because it is a lot of information. There's a lot of exposition happening in these chapters, so I'm trying to just keep it all in my head for when I'm going to need it, when the plot starts moving a little bit faster. This is going to be a tricky one for me to discuss spoiler free, but I'm figure it out. I'm going to figure out how to do it. I am really, really excited to be reading this book, though, because The Three-Body Problem was such a phenomenal start, and I've heard that a lot of people really like The Dark Forest even more. So I really, really hope I'm in that camp. I really want to continue to love these books because I love the first one so much. So anyway, really quick check-in on this one. I'll let you know when I finish. Hello, I finished The Dark Forest, and what a ride this was. So the main thing that's happening in this book is, after the conflict that started in book 1, we're now looking at a speculation of how humanity might respond to this impeding threat. I mean, it's doing a lot of things, but it's a very basic idea. So what I mentioned in the last clip, that the civilization that is on its way to us doesn't understand. It's a very transparent civilization. The idea of being able to keep thoughts or ideas to yourself, your thoughts and your words being different, lying, things like that are just so foreign to them that really the human mind is the greatest strength that we have in the situation that we're in. So the book 1 created a scenario and then posed the question, how does humanity respond? And book 2 explores a potential response. And in this book, it came up with such a creative idea of how it might respond to this very specific threat, which is wall facers. So the world is working together on this, and they have appointed 4 people who are wall facers, and what they're supposed to do is create a plan, a master plan. These are very qualified people to stop this impending threat. And because of this weakness that this other civilization has, not being able to understand the way the human mind works and functions, the task set before the wall facers is not just come up with a solution, but it's also don't tell anyone. Keep it completely in your brain. Don't speak it, don't say it, because there are ears everywhere. There are ways in which information is getting to this other civilization. So 3 of the 4 nose down, get to work. They're determined. And then the 4th one, our main character, is like, I don't want to do this. I didn't ask for this. But too bad, buddy. That's your job. And so he turns really hedonistic, and he's like, well, I'm just not going to do it then, and I'm going to use all these resources that you provided for me, and I'm just going to do what I want. But then things progress, time passes, and more plot ensues. But that's the solution that they've come up with in this very unique and specific situation. But then there's also a group of people who are welcoming this other civilization and are welcoming the impending doom. and they don't like the wall facers, so they appoint wall breakers. And the wall breakers' goal is to get close to the wall facers, find out their plan, and broadcast it so that it can be sabotaged, or so that the other civilization the aliens can have countermeasures. This is such a challenge to talk about. Spoiler free. I'm really trying here. Anyway, this is very much a psychological book. This is, as I said, how does humanity respond? And it responds based off of certain principles, which are presented early on in the book, but I'm now thinking I shouldn't. We'll save that for the spoiler chat. If you read book 1 and loved it, buckle up for book 2, my goodness. If you read book 1 and had mixed feelings about it, or didn't particularly love it because it was very dense, this book is also extremely dense. It's very expository. It digs really deep into everything that it's doing, so that it all makes sense. And there's breadcrumbs. I mean, there's breadcrumbs sprinkled at the very beginning of the book that don't get payoff till way later, which bogs down the beginning. It's a very slow beginning, but boy, oh boy, does it pick up. But it is very dense. It's not so much dense in the hard sci-fi aspect, though that is still there, but it's more dense in the hard philosophical aspect. And if you were put off about the characterization in book 1, maybe you thought that the characters didn't have a lot of life or weren't really fleshed out, I'm not sure book 2 will win you over, though I do think there's more of that in book 2. There's a lot of time that passes within the course of this book. There's a couple of time jumps because of science. So for instance, there's one character who is still teaching physics for 400 years. And he kind of reflects at one point about, because of certain events that have transpired, 400 years, he's still teaching the same curriculum. He's still teaching the same physics classes. And he kind of laments about how sad that is, that so little progress has been made in this aspect. And so there's little character moments that are also reflective of society, that are also reflective of the plot, that really tie into the characters, that give that little bit of characterization more so than book one. Also, our main character has a really great friendship, I think, in this book that is great to follow. So there's more of it, but it's still not going to be a character focused book. So if that bothered you in the first book, it's probably not going to be resolved in the second book, but I think it's better. Basically, if you don't like what book one did, you probably won't love what book two does, because it's still the same series. But if you enjoyed book one was essentially the setup so that book two could run. So if you liked book one, I reckon you might like book two. It's more, like I said, it's more psychologically dense. It's more really getting into the thoughts and minds and reactions of people and different responses they might have and how that could all affect each other. It's got some cosmic horror to it. Is in the philosophy, there's some cosmic horror that may make you think a little bit differently, as well as there's at least one scene that will stick to your mind, I think. Anyway, there will be a spoiler video on Tuesday chatting about this book more. Also, when I read thick books like this, I tend to only have 2 check-ins, and it's a shorter vlog. I feel like I've done more of that this month, so I'm sorry if that's a bummer for you. I just can't read 2 of these in a week. So sorry they've been on the shorter side, and a lot of sequels, which means that it's even more vague than normal. I hope that's not bothersome. Anyway, Dragon Ball Z. As always, my voice is spoiler free. The screen will have panels, so if you want to be spoiler free, just listen to the Dragon Ball Z chat and don't look at the screen. Last time I talked to you, I was on volume 10. I'm now on volume 16. So I've read 5 more volumes. So a lot has happened. I left off last time in the middle of a really incredible, at the tail end of a really incredible, amazing fight. That fight ended. And the very next volume, a new force comes in that just like makes a joke of the power levels of the last fight, and I think it's so funny. I think it's actually hilarious. I mean, I understand the point of introducing a character this way, because it's like, okay, you thought that this was a big deal, here comes this next person, and with this one scene you see that this next person is really powerful. But it's so narratively funny to me to be coming off of all that I just went through to this. Like, it's so narratively hilarious, and I love it. I'm not complaining. But we have a new character. We have a whole new plot line. Like, things are changing big time. Time travel is being introduced. Other generations are being introduced. New types of foes. We have androids that lead to more androids. We have other aliens. Like, it's going crazy. It's going off the wall. And I'm having a wonderful time. The character dynamics are amazing. The character pair-ups that are happening are both surprising and make total sense somehow. Characters I love are getting major power-ups. Other characters that I love. Okay, so I have 2 favorite characters right now. One of which just got a major power-up, and I'm happy for him, but I'm also nervous because I don't want him to change. My other favorite character is getting a major ego power-up, because with everything that's going on and with how hopeless this situation feels, about 5 separate times over these 5 volumes, he has said, I don't care, I'll just kill them all. And everybody's like, you can't do that, man. We're all in peril. He's like, nope, I'll just kill everybody. Like, he's just, his ego is bigger than the power scaling in this series. I met a character that heavily inspired a character that I deeply love in Hunter x Hunter, and he's awesome. He has some really terrifying powers that can both ruin a person or disappear them. We'll put it that way. And his powers, his attitude, his look, it's all very exciting. It's so funny because how quickly things level up in this series, you would think would make me look back at previous foes and like scoff or look at current foes and be like, whatever, this is just the monster of the day. But I don't feel any of those things. I just keep getting excited because each one is uniquely terrible. And it's like fun to see, how are we going to get out of this one? And currently where I am, they can't. Currently where I am, they're all doomed. It's looking bad. It doesn't look like we have any hope, just like the last big fight looked like. And then just like the last big fight happened, as soon as it looks hopeless, Goku arrives. So he's here. Anyway, my goal with Dragon Ball Z is to have it complete by the next One Piece break. I'm gonna have to speed up a little bit. I'm gonna have to pick up my pace, put a little bit more focus on this to make that happen, but I'm having a great time, so I think that's fine. It's just that I'm also reading The Promised Neverland, To Your Eternity, and Lock and Key, so that's just a lot of manga and comics all at once, but that's okay. I really like Dragon Ball Z, so I'll make it work. Or I won't, you'll have to wait till the next break. Either way, that's gonna be fine. So this week I read The Dark Forest and 5 more volumes of, well, over the last 2 weeks I read 5 more volumes of Dragon Ball Z. I would love to chat with you more about any of these in the comments if you would like to discuss them with me more. Again, The Dark Forest will get a spoiler review on Tuesday. Also update on Cyrus. He got fixed. He's an inside cat now. He's very happy to be inside, especially because it's getting cold. Anyway, chat with me more in the comments. I'll see you again soon. Bye.